with all this fear, we've seen an amazing footage and people who are just, like being so happy to be free again. We've seen people who are being released out of the prisons in Hama and also in Aleppo.
Syrian rebels are heading towards the city of Homs and could take control in a matter of hours. Over the course of a week, they've already taken the cities of Aleppo and Hama, which were considered strongholds of President Assad's regime. Could this be the beginning of the end for Bashar al-Assad? And if so, would that be such a good thing? Let's hear from Syrian filmmaker and activist Wad al-Khatib and Wladimir van Wilgenburg, who's head of news for the Kurd Chronicle, based in Erbil, Iraq. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon.
Wladimir, let me start with you first. What is the latest that you're hearing from the region?
I think.
Sorry, Wad, I'll come to you in just a second. Let me just get the latest from Wladimir, who's in the region.
Yeah. I work for Kurdistan Chronicle. About the latest situation, so what is happening is that the rebels are still marching on towards Homs. And at the same time, the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, they have taken large parts of Deir ez-Zor, including the strategic point of Abu Kamal on the border, which cuts the land bridge from Iranian-backed militias to Syria. And at the same time, also there are reports of heavy fighting in southern Syria. Some rebel groups, they have taken some villages in southern Syria. So it's, still Damascus is left. Still the Alawite heartland is still in the hands of the Syrian regime. So it's unclear what is going to happen. But the regime, they took a lot of blows. And even there was reports of attempted military coup in Damascus. So the regime is really weakening. And even there are some claims that the Syrian president has left the country. But that's until now, unconfirmed rumors.
Wow, yeah, that would be a very significant development if so. Wladimir, stay there on the line. I just want to bring in Wad al-Khatib here. Wad, I know your mum's from Hama. What are you hearing from there?
Yeah, so the news coming from Hama, Homs, and Aleppo, although Homs still not officially been announced as a out of the regime control, but people there are waiting for that moment. I think there was a very unclear kind of thoughts about, what's going to happen, who's going to control, with the regime attack again, and will they bomb this area and burn it with everyone in it because it's now out of the regime control. Yet, with all this fear, we've seen an amazing footage and people who are just, like being so happy to be free again. We've seen people who are being released out of the prisons in Hama and also in Aleppo. Someone like in Hama's general prison, he was Lebanese and he was detained 40 years ago. He just saw the light again. It's really overwhelming news. It's something we haven't. Personally, I didn't think I would see it in my own eyes one day.
Well, Wad, you spent many years documenting what life was like under the Assad regime and bringing us this incredible footage of living through the war. But, clearly HTS is an al-Qaeda affiliate. Are there concerns that those currently in control will be, worse than Assad, or could nothing be as bad as living under Assad?
Yeah, I think nothing would be worse than Assad. That doesn't mean that, we're not concerned about what's going to happen and who's going to lead, but for how long we will be in the same place, for how long we will be threatened to be killed with our own army, with our aircrafts. I think this change is very necessary. And what we're seeing on the ground is very assurance for the civilians, for everyone who hasn't killed someone in Syria, even people who are pro-Assad or who get involved in some things related. We are hearing this and we're listening to so many assurance from people. That doesn't mean that this is the situation, but to be honest, Assad, with all the crimes that he committed, with the chemical weapon, with sieging area, with over 130,000 people who are arrested and not knowing where are these people, and yet the international community was willing, and they did in some countries, to recycle him and normalize with him again. So I don't know what worse than anyone could see, worse than that situation.
Let me go back to Wladimir. You were talking about reports that Assad may have left the country, unconfirmed reports. Is his demise now inevitable? And can you reflect on whether that would be, an unqualified good thing for Syria, or will there be fears about what comes next?
Well, I mean, it's still not clear yet if he left the country or not. And I mean, the thing is that the regime is very weak now because you saw what happened in Lebanon, that Israel eliminated all the Hezbollah's leadership, and the regime was actually depending on Iranian-backed militias to keep in control, and also with Russian air support. But with Russia being focused on Ukraine and Hezbollah's leadership being eliminated, the Syrian regime was very weak. And that's why the rebels, which actually were not planning to go to Aleppo city, they were planning to control the province of Idlib. When they saw that the regime was so weak, they just pushed into Aleppo city, and now they're marching on Homs, and maybe after that they will go to Damascus. But it doesn't mean yet that completely, that 100% that the regime is falling, because still there's large parts left. But it seems that the regime is so weak that they cannot withstand these rebel advances. And if it's worse, then I mean, if this rebel rule will be worse, the thing also is that there are different groups that are fighting in Syria. So even if the regime falls, there could be also tensions between, for instance, Turkish-backed groups and Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham. And then you also have Kurdish-backed groups. So there could be tensions in the future. It doesn't mean that even if Assad falls, it will immediately stabilize Syria, because also you have, for instance, the Druze, you have the Alawites there. Actually, the Alawites are quite scared about what's going to happen next. I talked to someone from an Alawite town, and he was afraid that the rebels would march on those areas.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
Wladimir, thank you very much for joining us. Wladimir van Wilgenburg there. Wad, let me finish with you just to reflect with you, really, that, you lived and worked there during the Civil War. You sent this astonishing and frightening footage of what it was like. Just explain to us the sort of lasting trauma for Syrians of what they've lived through.
For 13 years, we've been into this war, which was never civil war. Not in the beginning, in 2011, when it was like an amazing revolution where we had so much hope. Not even, when Russia got involved and Iran and all of this, not even today. Because what we're seeing on the ground is a real hope, a real change. And I agree that we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I agree also that Syria won't be stable like tomorrow, and maybe not even in years. But this is one step forward. This is a big hope for so many people, for so many displaced people who, for the first time for years, they will be able to be in their homes, even when their homes are destroyed. This is a huge for all of us. And this is an amazing hope for humanity, because, after everything Assad has done, the end should not be as he is in power again and other governments are cheering him.
Well, do you hope one day to revisit your country?
That was a dream which I've never thought I would see in my own eyes in my life. It's now not a dream. It's something gonna happen, and hopefully soon.
And with your family?
Yes, definitely. With my 2 daughters and my husband and my parents and everyone who wish to go back, because there's over 6 million people outside of Syria today crying their eyes out to streets, to areas which we loved, which we belong to, and which we can't wait until we'll be there.